All right, welcome back to the SportsMax Zone as we head to the crease to talk cricket. Lovely cricket. Former West Indies batsman Wavell Hinds has been elected as president of the West Indies Players Association, WIPA, after he was re-elected unopposed for a 7th term at the association's annual general meeting held on Sunday in St. Kitts and Nevis. Hinds is accompanied by an executive containing Vice President Nixon McLean, Honorary Secretary Wayne Lewis, Liam Sebastian will continue as Assistant Secretary, and Ridley Jacobs as Treasurer, as all were unanimously re-elected for the term set to run until 2027. Well, speaking after his re-election, Hinds expressed a warm welcome to the newly appointed Rashada Williams after the Jamaica women's captain was named the second non-elected director, joining Barbadian Shakira Salmon on the board. We're so pleased to be joined by Wavell on the show. He's on the phone with us to discuss his re-election. Wavell, congratulations again. Seems as if this position loves you.
Good afternoon to you, your fellow hosts, and your audience. No, I am operating on the privilege and wishes of our membership, and I am most grateful.
Yeah, for sure, Wavell. And you know, you have been on the board as a player, and of course, now you're in this capacity as WIPA president. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of this re-election, I have to ask you, how different is it being on the board when you are a player versus in this president capacity?
Excellent question. When I started out in 2002 as a treasurer, did that role for 4 years, 2 terms, I was in the meat of my career at that time, and we were always faced with ultimatums. So either you forget about what you're pushing for the players to get or what the players deserve, or you sacrifice your place in the team. And a lot of times when the negotiations got heated, those things were bantered around. And of course, in my capacity as a player, I was always the first person to drop myself. So the threat of being dropped was never a problem to me, because I've always dropped myself first before the conversation starts. So we only have one side to negotiate thereafter, which is what is the best thing for the players. So it was always a ding-dong battle in the negotiating room and in the dressing room, not necessarily with the coaching and support staff, but more with the administrators and sometimes with the selectors.
Yeah, a position, as you said, that really, you know, it surrounds the welfare of the players, the betterment of the players. And you, Wavell, have been at the helm as WIPA boss since 2011. Can you talk to me? You know, I mean, it might be a lot because from 2011 to now we're in 2025, but just some of the major achievements that you have received working with these players and, of course, improving the game for them.
Okay, another good question. First, let me correct the date of 2011. I was first elected in 2013 as president, but I had to do a provisional stint when my predecessor had resigned on the 31st of March, effective the 31st of March 2012. So I started on April 1 to see out that the remainder of that term as the vice president. I had to see out the other 9 months, and then I was first elected in 2013. So I need to put the record straight where that is concerned.
Yeah, 2013, okay, because a lot of the reports are saying 2011. So good to hear that, 2013.
Right.
So let's go from
to the question.
Yeah,
to the question. The first thing I know that has improved for the players, even though I've had hiccups at times, is that when I was playing and when I started, a lot of times you would have received your contracts at the airport. It's almost like in exchange for your boarding pass. With no time to read, you just have to stamp your foot, sign your signature on it, and collect your boarding pass and go on the flight to go and play for the West Indies. That was just contracts for West Indies players, tour contracts, not necessarily retainers. In those days, there were no retainers or regional players. So now we have retainers or regional players from 2014 to date. So there's about 11 years going now. where 90 cricketers around the region, a minimum of 90 cricketers have retained a contract at least 1 year. We have now improved that to in our new MOU facilitate the possibility of having multi-year contracts. So, only can be contracted for 1 year, but a 40-year franchise, 50-year franchise can contract you for 2 years or more. We have the health medical plan for people who are contracted. Not just the regional players, but also the international players who are contracted have medical coverage that will cover you wherever you are in the world. And if it is that the coverage doesn't cover where the medical facility is, you can pay and then do the regular submission of receipts and all that and get your refund for what you would have spent.
Yeah.
So those are some of the critical things. The contracts are important, not just the regional contracts, but also the international contracts. They are important for the decent work agenda. If you understand industrial relations and labor laws and the International Labor Organization Charter of Rights, decent work agenda gives the person the right to have tenure, which is your job security. You can participate in the social benefits of your respective societies. We're about 14 sovereign nations that makes up the West Indies team. So each nation has their own laws that governs how their social deeds and benefits are administered. And so persons in Jamaica, for instance, can go to the National Housing Trust to try and get a loan, to get a house loan for a single digit, and which is a benefit for persons who are contributors that the government administers and offers to our total need to the people.
Yeah.
We also have achieved what happened in 2015, where the women members were not members of WIPA until 2015. And we certainly took them on board to start. Before we took them on board, they would have played regional cricket. And I use Stephanie Taylor as an example. And maybe 2010, 2012, thereabouts, Stephanie was one of the best all-rounders in the world, if not the best all-rounder. And when she played regional cricket, she didn't get a match fee, or the teams didn't get a match fee in that time. What they got was, for the duration of the tournament, however many days the tournament was, if the tournament was 15 days, they would have gotten $10 per day. So she would leave the tournament with $150, having participated for 15 days, played maybe 5-6 games at Jamaica. And the same would have gone for Marissa Aguilera and Deandra Dattin and the other girls and ladies who were on top of the world. So we thought that was unfortunate and unfair, and we introduced them to WIPA, brought them in. They are now fully on board. They have gotten international contracts. We now have up to 6 women eligible for contracts territorially. Once they are developed and are assessed by the selectors and the support technical staff to say that they are ready, then they can be contracted up to 6 persons per territory. And we have the women international contracts aligned with the men's regional contracts. So they are not necessarily where they should be. We have on a trajectory where we look to 2027 to try and get them on even par with the men in terms of match fees and all of those things. So we have achieved a lot. We have provided for our members right across the board. We have tried to get job security. We have secured minimum standards for hotels and playing grounds, conditions, and just even the travel for women. The women are now equally traveling the international women team. They travel business class like the men do. They have the single rooms like the men do. So we strive for equity and we strive for equality where we can, and we look to push further. And we have a robust legal support group that looks after the management of our players, deal with the anti-doping, anti-match fixing systems, because we have had members who have fallen out of grace for not following on that, and we have in the recent past had to stand up strongly for John Campbell when he was banned for 4 years, and we got that reduced to 22 months, and we took it all the way to the Court of Arbitration in Switzerland. So we are doing a multiplicity of things at different times on a meager budget, but what we put first is to make sure that we are aligned with our stakeholders. Cricket West Indies are aligned with the World Cricketers Association, and we're aligned with the World Players Association to get support, get the best practices, and get international standards going on a consistent basis, while we look to expose our members to those sort of information on a daily basis through our player development managers, through the different platforms we have at the World Cricketers Association, And we just having our regular meetings and looking after them and educating and informing them so that they can see what their careers are. The more information they have, they do that as well. We
Yeah.
also have, before Ricardo comes in, we also have a player development program where we look to deal with players' careers, life after cricket. So you enter WIPA most times at 18 if you are in first class team at that stage. And we look to start to engage you as to what you see yourself doing at 40, 45, and encourage you to start to prepare for that career. Because we know the cricket will last maybe 36 up to 30 to 40 if you're lucky. But there's life after cricket, so that you use your cricketing career as a platform and a launching pad for the other part of your career. If we have to go after scientific studies of how persons survive in this world, there are people having a longer lifespan than before. So if you finish cricket at 36, you still have the greater part of your life ahead of you. So you need to prepare for that as well, so that you don't become somebody who is remembered for what you used to do and not necessarily what you're capable of doing now, and what kind of positive contribution you can make, not just to the game, but to your immediate surroundings, your community, and your society.
Yeah, well, it sounds like 12 and a half years well spent as president of WIPA. I do have to ask you this question, though, or, well, a series of questions, starting with, in the period since you took over in 2013, or you were first elected in 2013, how many times have you been challenged for this post?
Unopposed 7 times.
Unopposed 7 times. What do you make as the reason for that? Do you suspect that is just based on the outstanding work that your team has done? And because you're running out of time, I'm just going to move ahead to ask this question. Do you think that the environment is in place that allows for challenges at the level of WIPA president and right across the executive?
Yeah, well, good. 2 good questions. Firstly, I can't say what has caused persons not offering themselves to want to be a part of the movement, the union. But I can say that we don't focus on the political side of things, as much say, because I think our Caribbean culture is always very excited about that side of it when it comes around to that time. What we focus on is what the needs are of the players, what the resources that are available, and what sort of intervention we can implement to use the resources we have to meet the needs of the players. And where we can't, we sort of make sure that we communicate and encourage and go and source new ways and means of trying to meet those needs. And hence I mentioned Cricket West Indies as a stakeholder that we have worked closely with. Hence I mentioned the World Cricketers Association, which was formerly FICA, and also the World Players Association, which deals with all the different sporting players associations globally. That is one that is very close to us as well. So we focus on the work and the needs. The players have been playing cricket like from my time without a contract, like a day's worker. You train for 2 weeks, you train for 3 weeks, you get injured the day before the game, you're removed. Ricardo Chambers comes in and replaces you, he gets the match fee and you go home with nothing. That is not proper industrial relations and labor. That is not decent work. We put retainer contracts in place, and where there are not retainer contracts, or where persons are not eligible for retainer contracts, they get a pay-for-play contract. So you have protection even in the period that you're playing. So if you get injured the day before the game, you're still eligible for compensation.
Right.
So those are the things that my executive focuses on. Not just me, but while you have the executive being retained, remember that some of the executive members are not there for the 7 terms. Yeah. There have been changes before. We have Preston Thompson was a vice president in the past. We have different members of the squad would have come in and out, and we have also added to the squad. When I say squad, there is the executive. Now we have Rashada Williams have been added as another member of the executive. So we have been focusing on the needs of the members. We have a strategic plan that we developed in 2018 that we refreshed every year, and we have key performance indicators. So it's not just a pie in the sky thing, it is a strategic thing, and our strategic plan is aligned with Cricket West Indies one, because at the end of the day and at the bottom of both strategic plan, Cricket West Indies and WIPA must be the advancement of West Indies cricket, trying to move the team forward on the field. So we're not at loggerheads about issues. We may have differences in the room, where we negotiate it, which don't necessarily mean to come in the public. But the aim of the game is to drive West Indies cricket forward. No corporate entity or anybody with superior skills and knowledge and elite talent will want to associate with West Indies when the environment is turmoil and is always about banter and about $5. If the pot is $5 and we don't look to grow the $5 to $15, while inflation we take the $5, we'll be fighting for $5 that is really
For sure.
in value, $3. So it is always good to work together and try and move it forward.
Yeah, well, Wavell, we wish you all the very best. What I do know, based on this short interview that we have with you, we'll probably need to have you in studio for about a 2-segment, so we can talk about all the plans.
I welcome the invitation.
All right, take care, Wavell. All the best, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me. All the best.
Yeah, WIPA boss there, Wavell Hinds. We're up on a break.